Well, embattled ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule has been suspended from party activities in line with the step-aside rule. The former Free State Premier faces over 20 charges of corruption, fraud, racketeering and money laundering in connection with an asbestos eradication tender. Magashule has long maintained his innocence, refusing to vacate his post. The move comes after the ANC National Executive Committee gave members implicated in crime a 30-day deadline to relinquish their posts or to face suspension. Well, to unpack this further, we're joined by Newsroom Africa's politics editor, Zbu Ngalwa, also part of the conversation, ANC NEC member, Mondli Gungubele, and political analyst, Ugogo Obri Machitli. Good evening to all of you, and thank you so much for being able to join us tonight. Zbu, I'll come to you in a moment. Let me begin with our guests. I suppose the simplest place to begin is just the fact that the suspension of the Secretary General, which in many ways seemed to have been the most complex and difficult matter for the ANC to deal with, has now taken place. Mr. Gungubele, your own response and just how we've gotten to this moment.
Listen, thank you for the opportunity, Kathy. I just want to say it's quite heartening that the organization is beginning to live, to put its money where its mouth is, to beginning to live the value system it has actually been articulating, beginning to be the ANC that is expected to be by implementing its own resolutions. I think that is quite appreciated.
Gogo Machitli, your own reflections on this moment and perhaps how significant it might be for the ANC.
Well, it is a very significant moment, Kathy. The question is whether the ANC will be able to effect the suspension. Because you will remember that those who support the Secretary-General Ace Magashule have argued that the NEC has effectively amended a decision of National Conference by narrowing the scope of those who should be subjected to the step-aside decision of the NEC. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that the Secretary-General may actually appeal. And one of the grounds on the basis of which he may want to appeal is to question whether the author of the letter, if the author of the letter is the Deputy Secretary-General, Jesse Duarte, has the authority to write such a letter of suspension, since he was elected by National Conference, the highest decision-making body of the organization. Can a body other than the NEC make her the acting Secretary General? He may also appeal the decision to suspend him on the basis that effectively, as I said, the NEC has amended a decision of a National Conference. If this is the course of action he intends to take, there is another option available to him. And I want to raise this as a question. Is it possible that if he questions the authority of the letter, that either before this moment or after this moment, he himself will author other letters of suspension? And those who may be subjected to such suspension may include the president of the ANC himself. So therefore, the decision that has been taken to date to suspend him may not be the end. It may complicate the matter even further as the ANC proceeds towards its National Executive Committee meeting over the weekend.
Gogo Machitli, what you're saying here really raises questions about process. And that's where a lot of people have been questioning whether this entire process will not be scuppered by the gaps that exist and the potential legal action that might lie ahead.
Well, importantly, you raise another option available to the Secretary General. He may indeed seek legal action because he is an employee of the ruling party. He may then want to argue that the process is in violation of the labor and other laws of the country. So for me, the biggest question is whether the ANC will be able to implement this decision. But what is important is that the fact that the ANC has taken this decision, some may argue which ANC has taken the decision, does indicate that those who support the president have done a reading of the balance of support and the balance of forces within the NUC and the party as a whole, which suggests that they have the advantage, no matter how slight that advantage is. But as they say in show business, particularly in opera, the show is not over until the Fat Lady has sung. So I suspect there are still many more twists and turns to come.
Mr. Gungubela, I'm going to come to you very briefly and also allow our politics editors, Bungalwa, an opportunity to come in. But just on this issue of the fact that this decision could well be seen as coming from a certain part of the ANC, which ANC has made this decision, and is it something that it will be able to see through? I think that's the question that Gogo Machiko is really pointing us to.
Thank you, Kevin. Maybe SG might call Comrade Aubrey to get some legal advice. I think he has raised very important issues which I want to respond. I think the first thing is that I don't understand this confusion about which resolution has been narrowed. That's the first point, because if you read paragraph, I think it's paragraph 3, it was paragraph 4, it says if there are allegations against you of corruption, you are required to go and meet the Integrity Commission. If the Integrity Commission is not happy with the explanation, the Integrity Commission, there are two instances where you can be summarily suspended. Either they are not happy with your with your explanation of allegations of corruption, or you are before the court, the prosecutorial investigations. Those are two instances. You went there, they are not happy with your explanation, that's the condition, or you are under prosecutorial. And NEC clarified these issues by saying, all those who are before court, who are formally charged for corruption, in the view of the ANC, the image of the ANC, it puts the image in crisis. So there's no confusion about it. The second issue is, which ANC? By the way, go and check. The decision on the 30th, which was taken on the last meeting Monday evening, was a unanimous decision with regard to taking this decision of 30 days. If after 30 days you have not done your work, you have not voluntarily exercised this thing, then we invoke 25/7. That was a unanimous decision. Thirdly, the last time I remember labor relations, this type of relationship is not necessarily covered by the Labor Relations Act. It's a unique type of, in law, they talk about something called sui generis. It's not an ordinary labor relations in the manner Comrade Aubrey is actually explaining it. So where I'm sitting, Jesse's issue, yeah, I think Comrade Aubrey raised this also. When this decision was taken, the guidelines are very clear that if the secretary, whether it's a secretary of a region or a province or the SG is affected, the deputy, it's a formally taken decision, should implement this.
Now, Mr. Gungubele, I mean, you say that this decision is a sign that the ANC is living by its value system. Is it not perhaps too ambitious on your part, given the fact that you have an ANC SG who has to be forced out of office, who is suspended and not stepping down voluntarily? That on its own may be a clear indication that it's not quite as you are saying it, that perhaps the ANC is a far bigger problem than you would wish to let out today.
You want me to respond?
Yes.
No, Kevi, I agree. As ANC, we must accept that this is the lowest of the standard, that we even have rules for this exercise. in well-established organizations, normally when your conscience is healthy, you don't have to go through these rules. It is a standard that we must go, that we must turn around. I think that is the beginning of the turnaround. It's not a standard, Mr. Nkalo, we are proud of.
Now, Gogo Mashikwe, now coming to you, I mean, some people may be saying this is the end of the road for Ace Magashule. You've rightfully said, I mean, it's not over until the fat lady sings. We said the same as political writers back in 2005, and we saw what happened in July during the NGC when then Deputy President Jacob Zuma was brought back by the ANC structures. The question, therefore, is, can we write Ace Magashule off at this moment, or is it still up to the ANC structures to determine what his fate will be going forward?
Well, there is no player in this battle who should be written off, because as I have argued, it may well be that the reading of the balance of support and the balance of forces by those who support President Cyril Ramaphosa is that he and the Tumamina faction, so-called, have the advantage, hence the timing of the decisions that have been taken. But on the other hand, if support for Ace Magashule is not being exaggerated, notwithstanding the fact that the ANC says he should not mobilize either inside or outside the ANC, that does not stop others from mobilizing on his behalf. Secondly, it does not stop him and those who support him from mobilizing covertly, something that has been happening anyway. But to go back to where Mr. Gungubele started in response to what I said, the picture he is painting is not undisputed. That's my point exactly. That those who support the Secretary General will not agree with the picture he is painting in this interview. And for me, that is the problem the ANC has to deal with. But the question is, why are we here? We are here firstly because there has been a failure in a revolutionary discipline and consciousness within the ruling party. Secondly, there has been a failure on the part of the Integrity Commission as an effective instrument or structure of the party. The Integrity Commission is a blunt weapon, hence we are here. But thirdly, we are here because the protagonists in this battle have posited different interpretations of the conference resolution of 2017, including different interpretations of recent NEC meeting resolutions.
Now, picking up, Mr. Gungubele, on the last point that Gogo Mashikwe makes about the lack of revolutionary discipline in the ANC, I'm reminded of a piece you recently wrote where you were saying that if the ANC enforces the step-aside resolution, that is something that will show society, that will also be emulated by society in seeing that there is an embedding of a culture of what you call revolutionary language and morality. Do you then accept then by the same token, if you reverse that situation, that if you are saying the ANC's action on step aside will influence society, that perhaps it is also the ANC that is responsible for moral decay that we see in society?
Listen, what I like, Sbu, is that if you read our literature, which is on website, by the way, sometimes we create an impression that ANC literature is hidden somewhere. You can go website, you'll find it. In our conference, ANC has accepted that we have conducted ourselves in the manner we displayed attitude to malfeasance and their corrupt practices in a manner that has cast doubt on us as whether we continue to be the agent of change that historically we were meant to be. That has been acknowledged. It's no longer a debate. That's why a resolution on corruption was adopted. It was actually seeking to actually address that. That is not an issue for debate. But however, I also want quickly to come to what Comrade Obi has just said. You see, Comrade Obi, the decision that the people who are before court, who are charged for corruption and serious criminal issues, has been taken by the NEC in August unanimously. And when you say something is disputed, you may explain the context of it being disputed. But from the institutional imperatives, a unanimous adoption of this resolution was done in August by a supreme decision-making court. So if disputed in a broader informal debate, I wouldn't argue about that. But from institutional imperatives, it was unanimously adopted in August.
All right. This is what we'll do. We're going to take a quick break. We'll continue the conversation with ANC NEC member Mondli Gungubele and political analyst Ugogo Obri Machiki. Do stay with us. This is News at Prime. You're live on News at Prime. We continue then our reflections with ANC NEC member Mondli Gungubele and political analyst Ugogo Obri Machiki. In studio with me is Newsroom Africa's politics editor Sbu Ngalwa. Gogo Machiki, I imagine that you want to quickly get a response in to Mr. Gungubele before I bring up the issue of the officials who are supposed to be stepping aside and the impact that that should have naturally on the office that they occupy, at least such as your MPs and other public office bearers.
Well, KP, we have seen in the public domain, including television and radio, leaders of the ANC who have an interpretation that is different from what Mr. Gungubele is positing. Firstly, about the meaning of the 2017 National Conference resolution, and secondly, about the meaning of decisions that have been taken by the NEC in recent times. So the kindest thing I can say is that the interpretations are not undisputed, but in reality, they are disputed. And you must bear in mind that organizations make decisions in three ways. Firstly, through formal democratic processes, such as the NEC and National Conference, but they do so also through informal and non-formal processes, and thirdly, through hidden hierarchies. And maybe when Mr. Gungubele disputes the fact that there are disputes as far as interpretations are concerned, he is excluding the last two, that is non-formal and informal processes and hidden hierarchies.
One of the other issues that can be used as an example for what you're saying, Gogo Machiki, is Pule Mabe earlier on today saying that the people who are going to be suspended will have an opportunity to come before the NEC and plead their case, and depending on what they're able to say, they can stay in their position, such as your MPs who are supposed to step aside from the organization, but that they could well continue serving in the ANC caucus despite some of their suspensions. Does that sound like the right thing to do? Is that way of deciding what happens to every individual going to be seen as fair treatment?
Well, what I will say, and here Mr. Gungubele can guide me, my understanding is that this weekend's NEC was supposed to finalize the guidelines, amongst other things, with respect to what happens to those who have to step aside, who are public representatives. Because it is a bit easier to deal with those who are members of the party or leaders of the party, like Ace Magashule, who are not public representatives. But another question that arises, at the moment, if this is going to happen, when Ace Magashule lodges an appeal, will the decision to suspend him be in abeyance? In the end, it doesn't matter what happens this weekend. Politically, it doesn't matter what the formal decisions that will be taken are. Politically, the battle will continue, so that the side that loses the battle within the NEC engages in a battle to reverse the impact of such decisions on their own interests and fortunes.
Mr. Gungubele, an opportunity for you to respond?
My understanding, if you read 2570 in its own terms, 2570 deals exactly with this situation. That if one of us appears before court and in the view of the NEC in the manner this has been articulated, it affects the interest of the organization, the NEC is enjoined to take a decision like this.
No.
And now, the point I want to make is that how do people appeal is a bridge one wants to cross when he reaches it. But where I'm sitting, the NEC was definite and the conference is definite, is that people who are charged in this fashion to protect the image of the ANC, they should not represent. And as the DSG's letter is also well articulated in this matter. I'm not sure if I have responded properly.
Now, Mr. Gungubele, I mean, you keep repeating the point about the decision of the NEC having been unanimous. Now, we've seen this before, where the top structure of the ANC, the NEC and the NWC are rather, for a lack of a better word, unanimous on a position only for the party structures, which is the branches, scuppering that decision or turning that decision. Can you safely say that this decision by the NWC, which was communicated to Ace Magashule and others, has the full support and cannot or will not be changed by ANC structures, say, in an NGC?
Listen, the NEC, as you know, is a supreme decision-making body in between conferences. By the way, what the NWC did on Monday is to implement the directive of the NEC. Originally, this is not their decision, if you remember very well. The NEC, at the end of last month, said all the people who are formally charged for corruption and other serious crimes are given 30 days, and if after 30 days they are still here, you invoke 2570. So it's not a new decision in the NWC. NWC mainly implements the decisions of the NEC. So the other point, by the way, let me go back to this point. Comrade Aubrey will realize that it would be stupid of me to assume that because this thing in protocol, forum, in institution is agreed, as if I'm not observing the debate outside there. But the point I want to draw your attention to, by the way, if you follow your records, when this decision was taken at the beginning of August last year, there was no debate about its meaning until it had to be implemented against somebody. I'm not sure if you follow that. You must check your pattern. When it was adopted, it was unanimously adopted. There's no one who questioned. 6 office bearers went in a press conference to explain this decision. It stayed quietly until certain comrades were faced with its implementation. Then the different views emerged. You can understand a lot of disingenuity as far as that is concerned.
All right. Gogo Machikli, I'm going to give you the last word here.
Well, let me go back to what Mr. Gungubele says when he says the ANC has conceded that there have been lapses in the revolutionary discipline and consciousness. In other words, the ANC has conceded that when it comes to morality, it has become a vacant plot. What I will say is that he is correct. The ANC is very good at doing diagnosis, but it is not very good when it comes to corrective action. And this is one of the reasons it finds itself in this position.
Let me thank you both for your time tonight. ANC NEC member Mondli Gungubele, political analyst Gogo Aubrey Machikli, and in studio political editor Sbu Ngalwa. While still ahead on News at Prime, human rights activist and entrepreneur Masingida Masunga speaks to us about how she's commemorating Africa Month. Do stay with us.